Hello everyone, welcome to another video from Fantasy Football Scouts. As always, we are partnered with Just Eat. You can see their logos in the top right, and it is time for the football, so make sure you order those takeaways. That's my little speech done. As always, hope you're all doing well. It's the final video before the semi-finals that we're going to do from Scout. We had obviously the great video with Andy yesterday talking about his team, going through all of that, so make sure you check that out. You've still got 3 hours until the deadline, so plenty of time before we've got to make those moves and before we get the teams at 7 o'clock. So it's the semis. I'm going to talk to you. I've got something a little bit different today. I've actually done a bit of prep. It is a miracle. So we're just going to talk a bit about the semi-final. We're going to talk about the teams. I won't go into too much detail about who I think are going to win all the different matches. You can watch the video from last night. From that, the spoilers are, I think it's probably going to be Italy and England, which is pretty boring, but probably quite sensible. I think Spain could potentially cause a bit of an upset. I can't see Denmark winning that game, but that's probably going to be the one that does surprise everyone. But I think Spain could be, if you're looking to go a bit rogue, then Spain could be the team to target. So really exciting games. I think tonight is I'm really looking forward to watching it. And obviously tomorrow I'm looking forward to it, but also a bit nervous. But I think we'll probably be fine. So that's your semi-final games. I think it's quite surprising when you look at those 4 teams and you think about all the teams that have been in this tournament and the ones that people thought were going to do well. You look at France and Belgium, obviously not there. You've got Denmark there. I mean, loads of people were tipping Turkey to be one of the surprise teams, and they lost every match. So I think it's an really interesting semi-final, and any one of those 4 teams who win it will have a story to tell. So I really like that. If it had just been France again, everyone would just be kind of like, oh, France have won it. But I think we're gonna have a story after this. My camera isn't very straight. Hang on, let me just. Oh, probably gonna make it worse now. Is that better? Yeah, sure. Why not? So what I've got for you all is I've obviously gone through the members area. There's loads of stats in there. So if you're obviously interested in stats, then Fantasy Scout is the place to go. If you're not familiar with Fantasy Scout, we've got all the Opta data. We've got them for the Euros, all the players that have played in the tournament so far. There's just like endless amounts of stats in there. Shots, chances created, passes, XG if you're into that. Touches in the box, touches outside the box, shots in the area, shots outside the area, absolutely everything. What I've done here is I've just taken 3 stats that I use quite regularly in FPL, and when I'm making decisions, these tend to be the 3 stats that I use to kind of compare players and see which ones to get. I typically tend to do this with player comparisons. So if I'm looking at 2 defenders, for example, or 2 midfielders from the same team, like Souček or Ben Rama and all this, I always look for kind of differences between them to see who are the most threatening players and who are the ones that have the most potential to create assists. And these are the stats that I tend to look at. So obviously chances created is just an easy metric of how many sort of in-play chances they're making for their teammates. So it gives a good example of set-piece potential, or it gives a good example of their ability to make things happen for the team. So typically when you look at this with defenders, you can see which defenders are the ones that are tasked with getting forward, bombing forward and making things happen for the rest of the squad. And then with midfielders as well, it can be useful to see, De Bruyne's stats are always absolutely sky high for this particular stat. Fernandes is always up there. And sometimes you get players who reach those kind of levels. I mean, like Dusan Tadic years ago was way up there. And it just kind of, it often sort of just puts into motion what you're seeing on the pitch when you watch a game yourself. So it just backs up the kind of eye test. The other 2 stats, so shots inside the box and touching the penalty area, I really like these, and these tend to be the 2 that I use the most. It tends to be, and obviously there's exceptions to these, Vardy, for example, being a major example of a stat buster, as we like to call him, but these tend to show the most threatening players, and the ones that I think are often the ones that are most likely to either start registering attacking returns if they haven't already, or continue to do it if they're scoring. So a lot of people use XG and things. I find that these stats just give me a bit of a better metric of how many goals and assists these players are likely to create. Anyway, that's the long spiel about that. So obviously these aren't all stats. Loads of people have different stats they use. I mean, Jonty's got a brilliant goals imminent table where he uses a combination of these stats and others to kind of try and predict who's going to hit big hauls who haven't already. Loads of great numbers and stats in there as well. So don't think that this is like the be all end all. It's just the ones that I like to use. So looking at defenders in the Euros so far, I mean, we talk about Denmark being the the kind of the underdogs, the big underdog that's in the semi-final. I mean, look at Mæhle. I mean, I've sorted these all by shots inside the box. He's currently the defender with the most shots inside the box. So what I've done here is I've just taken the players who are still in the tournament. So obviously there's loads of players who you probably won't see, Meunier, for example, and you won't see like De Bruyne. So these are just the ones that are left. But out of all the players in the whole tournament, Mæhle is absolute top of shots inside the box throughout the tournament. He's also top by an absolutely incredible margin for touches inside the penalty area. So 27 touches inside the penalty area, as we'll see in a bit, rivals some of the kind of best performing midfielders and forwards in the game. It's absolutely incredible. The athleticism of that guy to bomb up and down the pitch, the way he does create chances. I mean, 7 chances created, best on this list as well. Better than the likes of Spinazzola, who's obviously out, but better than Shaw, for example. Absolutely mad. So it's all the signs paint to having him sort of in your team. I think the big drawback is if you don't think Denmark are going to progress, then you really are banking on him getting something from this game against England. And is it too far now to think that he's going to do that? He could pop up with an assist, but I think the favourites are definitely for that game are England. So if you're bringing him in at this stage, it seems to me that it might be doing it a bit too late. So then we look at some of the other players who maybe have a bit more chance to progress. So Di Lorenzo is actually really high up there. So he ousted Florenzi quite early on. Emerson's come into the side now, so a lot of people are going for him. Now Spinazzola's out. But Di Lorenzo looks to be the one that hard to judge him because Emerson hasn't played too much. But Di Lorenzo has been performing well throughout the tournament. So just 6 touches in the penalty area, but 5 shots inside the box. So 6 touches, 5 of them being shots, is quite an interesting statistic. It means that when he's getting the ball, he's having a shot. So it's most likely coming from set plays, I would imagine. Can't confirm that unless he literally is just volleying everything that kind of comes his way. But it's most likely headers. But it's a good number for someone like that. It shows that they are trying to get the ball to him in the box and use him sort of aerially. Just 2 chances created for him, so he's not sort of doing that well in that particular statistic. Azpilicueta, though, is doing well. 4 chances created, 13 touches inside the penalty area. He's maybe quite overlooked. He's played 324 minutes. I think 450 is the maximum they could have played at this stage. So he's played the majority of games, and there's rumours around fatigue for like the likes of Laporte. Alba's been sort of in and out of the team. So is Pau Torres, Garcia. Azpilicueta does seem just as likely as any of the other ones to play. So if you are looking for a bit of a slightly different defender to get in, and you're backing Spain maybe to cause an upset, then I think you could do worse than Azpilicueta. I think you'd also do worse than Alba as well, who I took out famously last week. And then, to be honest, it just really kind of gets pretty uninspiring after these. I mean, I'm finding it really hard at this stage to pick out excellent differentials for you all. There's one that I like in the next section, but most of you have called him already. He's the one that I think could make a big difference. But I mean, Maguire, just 270 minutes, 6 touches in the penalty area, 4 shots. So again, seems to be a tactic that they're using Maguire's height and aerial sort of prowess to create chances. Nothing too kind of, it's pretty obvious. So that's what they're trying to do. And then you go down to the likes of Kjær and look at those, 1 chance created, 2 shots, 7 touches in the penalty area. So defenders, there doesn't really seem to be anyone left in the tournament that to me is really, really standing out. So Emerson could be the one that is a punt and a bit of an unknown, and someone that could maybe catch a few people off guard. But to me, I think defenders aren't gonna be huge, sources of points. I think it's more likely to sort of just bank on one team. So, go all in on Italian players, go all in on England players, go all in on Spain defenders, depending on where you kind of think they're going to be, and kind of go from there. So let's move over to mids. So the top mid for shots inside the box is Olmo. the Spanish midfielder who has played just 266 minutes. Obviously, Sarabia has been in great form, scoring goals, creating chances, everything, but has been ruled out now of the game. So it looks like from the reports that Olmo's going to come in, and we'll have confirmation of that before the deadline. But his numbers are really good. So 26 touches in the penalty area, 11 shots inside the box, 8 chances created. It's a really, really good set of numbers for him, given the minutes that he's played. So I've bought him in. I've bought him in on fan teams as well. I think he could be the difference maker. I think if you're not backing Italy to just get through that, and you're maybe doing as badly as I am, and you're looking for someone who could, take a few people by surprise, I think he's probably the one to go for. Insigne's there, so we're obviously now moving down into territory of quite a lot of people have got him. The only thing that's quite a little bit prohibitive with Insigne is his price. So if you're moving money to get the likes of Kane, go hard with England defence, get Sterling, you might find it a bit hard to get Insigne, and I think some people might have to make the decision between Insigne and Immobile, which is actually what I've done, and I've gone for Immobile. So Insigne, his touching the penalty average is really high, but he's having quite a few shots. When you look at those numbers together, he's actually, as we've seen from him for Napoli, he favours a shot outside the box, which tends to be quite hard to predict when their returns are going to happen. Might be one of the reasons why he's been maybe less effective for Italy than he is for Napoli. He's had a good tournament, but his numbers haven't been incredible. Loves a shot, but often not in the best areas. But seven shots inside the box isn't too bad. Højbjerg's there, so he's played every minute. 10 chances created, which is right up there with some of the best midfielders. I didn't think he had that in him to be that kind of creative hub in the centre of the park, but he's been doing well. 4 shots in the box and 5 in the penalty area. So again, likely to come from set pieces, but he is creating chances for teammates. So if you've got him in your team, if you're looking around and you need to free up some money, look at the likes of Phillips, Rice, all these. Højbjerg is probably your best bet and probably the most likely to get you some points. And then just stuck some other Italy players in there. So Barella and Verratti are in there too. I've got Barella. He's dipped quite a bit in the last few matches in terms of his stats. He was right up there for these chances created, but has been not doing so well lately. He did get that goal though in the last game, was it? Which was nice, a bit of a reward for the people that had sort of picked him out. But the numbers don't massively tell me that he's got kind of big hauls coming. Although 8 touching the penalty area isn't too bad. Verratti though, 12 chances created in just 231 minutes. Is really nice, and so 7 touches in the penalty area. So again, I think Verratti here could be someone that you get in as a bit of a punt and hope that he does quite well. I'm just going to check his ownership at the moment, just in case people are wondering. His ownership is, it'll be low, I'm sure. Yeah, just 3% ownership for Verratti. So at 6.8. If you're looking for someone, sort of around that mark, and you're considering players like Mount, Olmo's there. If we see Verratti in the lineup, then I think he could be someone that could do quite well for you. And if you wanted to give the armband to him and kind of risk that, then it might be something to consider. Forwards. So this was interesting, I thought. So top of the forwards for shots inside the box was Moreno and Morata. So both Spanish strikers, of which we rarely see them playing together. Morata started every game but tends to be subbed, with when they either want to rest him or they want to get some more sort of firepower on, but still played 393 minutes of a possible 450. Moreno, on the other hand, just 234 minutes, so almost half the time played of Morata, but is really matching him across all these statistics. 4 chances created, the same number of shots in the box, less penalty area touches, but is really, really dangerous. And I said it last night, Morata really is just kind of clinging on to that place and has been doing well, and Spain have been doing well, but I do wonder if Moreno could surprise a few people if he does manage to get a start. It just depends. I think if they go with Ferran Torres and Olmo, then obviously I think Morata's going to start. So you're going to have to rely on Moreno doing the damage from the bench. Again, I'm not sure he's going to displace any of those 3. But again, we'll see from the lineups. If he does sneak into the lineups, then I think we're going to see quite a few people moving to him. And I think, you should be tempted to yourself, because if he is starting, his stats, underlying numbers are really good. Immobile's there. So 330 minutes. Again, 27 touches in the penalty area, 12 in the box, 4 chances created. So these are some good numbers. I have a feeling he's going to be the most highly captained player tonight. The stats are good, but they're not. They don't scream to me that this has to be the guy that we captain. So I think actually going against him and maybe picking someone like Verratti or Olmo or someone like that, and knowing that you can then change the captain to an England player tomorrow, which a lot of people are going to do, might be quite fun, and also it might reward if Mobley does blank and England maybe don't put in the convincing performance that we think they're going to do, and you do get lucky with one of the hauls. A lot of ifs, a lot of buts, but that's kind of the stage I'm at now, needing some of these differentials to come off so I can restore a bit of credibility, I think. Braithwaite's there. I mean, 445 minutes for Braithwaite. His numbers are good. 33 touches in the penalty area. Is second only to Morata at forwards. 12 shots inside the box. I mean, and 7 chances created as well. So these are, in fact, of all the forwards, these are some really elite numbers for Braithwaite. So you're looking at Denmark and thinking, this team is kind of, got to the final. No one's expecting. They've got to the final because they've got players like Braithwaite, like Højbjerg, like Mæhle, who I think are just massively outperforming what we thought they were capable of. So absolute credit to them. And then you look at Kane down there, 409 minutes. I mean, 2 chances created, just 8 shots inside the box, 18 touches in the penalty area. This isn't a Kane that's, the same as we've seen for Spurs in the league, where his stats are, absolutely massive and the highest of all. I don't think anyone would have expected Kane's numbers to be lower than Braithwaite. Probably no one would have expected them to be lower than someone like Morata as well. So he got the 2 goals against Ukraine. I'm still not entirely convinced that he is so essential going into this game that we all need to make sure we've got him. We all need to make sure we've captained him. I think if you are thinking about ways to be different, I think avoiding Kane and, maybe banking on the likes of Morata or Olmo or Verratti, all these guys, I think it's all we can do really, and just hope that Kane doesn't go too mad. I can't really see too many other ways in which we can differentiate our team enough to make up significant ground when pretty much everyone's going to be on the likes of Kane and Sterling for the armbands. So maybe it's defence, maybe it's the likes of Maguire, Shaw, and these guys that we need to be thinking about, or even Mæhle, and kind of hope that Denmark, pull off an upset. Well, depends where your loyalties are. I'll root for England. Matic Marinsek says his name is Goatweight. I bet he loves that. I still can't believe he signed for Barcelona. I still can't believe he signed, during that sort of emergency window and took him from that relegation team. Crazy. Let's just, before I move on, any questions in the chat? Nuclear Atoms is there. Hi, Nuclear. I don't think you've missed one of these. I'm really impressed that you've stuck around for this long. I think you're doing as badly as me, aren't you? You definitely have been to too many of these. You said you're going to go for Olmo instead of Torres. Yeah, I like that. Thoughts on Chiesa? Yeah, I looked at Chiesa. I mean, his stats aren't the numbers aren't there to suggest that he's someone that we absolutely need to factor in. I like Olmo more than Chiesa, if I'm being honest. And to be honest, I like the look of Verratti more than Chiesa, I think. So he'd be the one that I'd go for. Theo asks as well, Chiesa or Olmo. I still think Olmo. So he's the one for me. Yeah, I had quite a few questions about pens for Italy. Obviously, Andy's brought in Jorginho and said that he was on pens. I'm not entirely sure whether he will be. He's obviously good at them, and takes them for Chelsea. He had the most misses, I think, most penalty misses in the Premier League last season, and he's got that kind of style that people like with the kind of started run up. I think it probably is Jorginho. There's no one in the Italy team who I think is going for the Golden Boot either. I'm not sure if that would be a factor, but someone like Immobile could have taken off him potentially if he was feeling selfish. Or I'm not sure the manager would be too up for that. So yeah, I'm going to say it's probably Jorginho, but again, not 100% sure. Any other questions? Noah asks if Sancho will play. I was quite confident about it yesterday, but not too confident about it today. Someone made the good point that will Foden just not start now. I mean, he was starting pretty much every game. He got rested, I think, because he was on a yellow. obviously Saka came in and did well, and Sancho played well. I don't know. Obviously it's going to be one of those three. I just don't know which one it will be. I still think Sancho will get the nod. I think he had a decent game against Ukraine. So, and I think Saka will be used in the final against either Italy or Spain. I think we're going to go for it a bit against Denmark. I think it should be quite an exciting game. If he goes 5 at the back, and if you think he's going to go 5 at the back, then I imagine Saka will come in though. But it could be Foden that comes in and kind of surprises us all, and maybe that's what Southgate wants to do, cause a couple of surprises. So we'll see. It just depends on Southgate. It just depends on whether Southgate thinks that this is a game which he wants to attack and score some goals, or whether he thinks this is a game to play in a really defensive manner. It depends how much he fears Denmark, basically. I have the sense that he'll go a kind of like a middle ground, but I still think Sancho will start. But yeah, we'll see. Any other messages? No, a few people think Saka. Nuclear asks, is a goalkeeper transfer needed even if we already have Donnarumma? No. Why would you make a transfer if you've already got a playing goalkeeper? It's better than kind of a lot of people. I think a -4 for a keeper is sensible though if you haven't got one. I just think hits in this and in the other game are, you might as well, like it's -2 if you look at it like that, like we do in the Premier League. But you've got the chance that they'll play in the next game and sort of get another -2 as well back from that. If they get knocked out, then you haven't lost that much. I think given how few games there are and how little's left, I think we always need to have a starting 11 each week. That's my advice. Joe Stang asked Koke. Yeah, Koke was I think he was the next on the list. His chances created isn't too bad. I think Pedri is doing better than him though. I think Pedri's stats are a little bit superior to Koke, so I think Pedri would be the one that I'd go for. But again, I still think Verratti is the one. And I saw one other question about... where did I see the other question? Oh, maybe I didn't. I thought there was another question. So actually, this one takes me quite nicely. Will Clark, who would your wildcard team be? Well, I haven't done my wildcard team, but what I have done is, if you go on to Fantasy Scout, there's a great article posted today with some semi-final picks. There's some more stats as well if you are interested in these. And this was the kind of the scout squad they put together. So it's kind of the players that they think could kind of do the best. I've had no input in this, so don't have a go at me. But I did look at it and thought, yeah, it's a pretty solid team. So Donnarumma and Pickford there. So then Shaw, Maguire, and Mailer. So at least 2 defenders from England. Insigne, Højbjerg, Torres, Sterling, Immobile, Kane, and Morata. I just think that it's just a very, very solid team right across the board. Immobile captain. So, that was the question. Whoa, that's a lot of questions about Immobile. Should I go for Immobile differential? Well, I don't think Immobile is going to be a differential. I think he's going to be the most captain player tonight. So I think if you're looking for a differential, I think you've got to go for someone else. I think going for someone like Insigne or Torres or Olmo or backing a defender, is a better way to do it. I think Morata's a really good pick, given that his numbers so far. I think there's plenty of differential options that you can consider. I mean, they're not differentials in the sense that I think a lot of people are going to have them, but I think they are differentials if you're going to captain them and sort of hand them the armband. So no, if you're looking for a differential, Immobile is not the one that I'd go for. I think I'd probably go for Morata or Olmo. So that's the team. Then on the bench, obviously you've got Striker, you've got Kjaer, and you've got Phillips. I don't think we're backing too much on those three to get too much. So I think there is quite a lot of hope that the first 11 he was going to deliver, but then you've got the option to bring him in sort of if you need to. So I really like this team. I don't think it's particularly I want to say brave, but it's I think we're entering a stage now where a lot of players are going to have the same teams. So I think maybe we have to consider the likes of Emerson or Di Lorenzo or some of the other players that I mentioned on this stream if we want to try and get ahead. But if you're sort of 2K, 3K, something like that, and trying to protect rank, I think this team is probably going to do quite well. So I wouldn't advise going differential for the sake of it unless you're in a really rough position like me around 300k. Where actually am I at the moment? It's not good. Oh God, it's even worse than I thought. 398,000. Wow, that is bad. At 3.7 million. God, it really is like my Premier League season. Right, let's have a look at my team. So this is the team that I'm going in with. I've used all my transfers. I've got Immobile and Dolberg up front. I've got Sterling, Barella, Olmo and Ferran Torres. And then I've got Bonucci, Shaw, Di Lorenzo, Stones and Simon. And then no backup goalkeeper. And then Grealish, who might not even play any minutes at all. Maguire and Kane to come on. So I've gone for Olmo captain here. I'll be waiting for the lineup to see if he definitely does start. If he doesn't, then I'll be bringing my England players in. I'm not sure at this stage what I'll do. I'll probably put the armband on Sterling, with the hope that most people go for Kane. So yeah, we'll see what kind of happens with that. But I think in the position I'm in, I can't afford to really just go with the template captains. And I think I've got a few players here who could potentially take me up the rankings. Adam Noman says 398 Kane, you're giving tips. Yeah, mate, have you not seen my FPL season? I was $1 million in the world for a good portion of that, and people were still listening. So, hey, you don't have to be here. There's some spamming in the chat. Yeah, you can stop that now, please, if you want. Nuclear Atoms, Andy said, don't need to worry about this because the game doesn't record our history. That's a very good point. I like that. Maybe they should bring that into FPL. Imagine that. Do you think that's a question for the group? Would we all play FPL differently if there was no ranks recorded? Would you be braver? Would you not? Obviously, you wouldn't worry so much about the top 10k prize. Would you try and win it more? Would there be more people who went for it? Interesting question. One that I'm sure someone would track it in some way, and there'd be some Excel spreadsheet of everyone's ranks in, so you can never escape it. I don't think. What else we got? Is there any other questions that we've got? I don't think so. Theo says I look cute. That's very nice of you. Thank you. It's nicer than the guy who said that I couldn't give tips because I'm 390k. Thomas says he loves my streams. Thanks, mate. I appreciate it. And the spamming stopped as well. So I think that's it from me. If you do have any other questions, then you've got about 30 seconds. I'll pause to let them come in because obviously I'm on a bit of a delayed. But if there's not, then I will. Well, I'll probably finish and go get a beer. To be honest, sounds quite good. No, don't see too many because you're in. Pagach Sad says, aren't you worried about Di Lorenzo's minutes if Florenzi is fit? Yeah, but his numbers are good, right? And he's been playing well. I'm not sure he's just going to suddenly chuck Florenzi back in when Di Lorenzi's been doing well. And Italy have been, arguably the team of the tournament, maybe apart from England. So it's a bit of a concern, but at the same time, I think he's done enough to keep his place. And I think he's become a bit of a kind of a cornerstone in that defence. And with them losing Spinazzola as well, I don't think he's going to want to make sort of wholesale changes to the back line. He wants to kind of keep it as reliable as he can and keep players in who've been doing well for him. I do think Spinazzola is a massive miss for them. And I'm really interested to see. I think there's a lot of pressure that's going to be going on Emerson. I don't think he can replicate what Spinazzola's done this tournament, but he's going to have to still play well, and I think he could be a side that Spain was to target in this game as well. So yeah, we will see. Just before I go, I'll just mention the poll. So I think Immobile will be the most captain player in the game, but the Fantasy Scout poll says that Insigne will be. So winning by 180 votes. So we didn't have a huge amount of people voting in this, but Insigne was leading this by 50% of people. I wonder if the casuals will go the same, or whether they go with Immobile. It's kind of hard to know. And then it just massively chops off. Chiesa, Morata, Donnarumma, Ferran Torres. I think if this does bear any semblance on what happens, I think there definitely is some potential to try and get ahead. And I'll mention again, my standout differential players are Morata, Olmo, and Verratti. And then tomorrow you can always change them if they don't do well. So Kane is winning that by 73% of the votes, which is 85 cast. And then you're dropping down to like just Sterling. Mailer's the third most captain player. Pickford, Stones, Mount, someone who I do like as well. I think he's definitely going to start. It's just what role will he play and will he really deliver anything? I'm not too sure. So we'll see. But yeah, there's definitely ways to differentiate your team with the captains. I think the captains are going to be key. If you really want to prepare yourself up, then I think you need to be willing to roll the dice a bit over the next 2 days. So that's it from me. Just a final note to the Fantasy Scout members area where I got the stats. It's if you're not a member already, the Premier League season's starting pretty soon, so it's good for you to get over there and sign up and all that good stuff. We've got a new look members area coming soon. We've got members articles. We've got Mark coming on and doing some members only videos for us as well. We've got updates to loads of different things, 3-player comparisons, all that kind of stuff. So and there's 20% off as well at the moment. So if you haven't signed up, then go over to there. And yeah, let's just hope that the team on the screen now delivers finally with just 2 match days to go. So good luck everyone tonight and tomorrow, and it's coming